This is Boxes and Briefs, a podcast with real-life business stories. But we will be asking the hard questions and challenging traditions. So broaden your thinking with fresh perspectives and solve problems for business success. Hello, welcome to Boxes and Briefs. My name is Lisa.
I'm Tori.
And today we have with us Bruce Sheppard from Gilligan Sheppard. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you.
Welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Bruce Sheppard.
More, please.
You want more?
I want more.
It says enough.
Well, it might do. I'm the founder of Gilligan Sheppard. I'm its current CEO. I'm one of its shareholders. I founded it in 1985, or a couple of years before that. It's been going in more or less its same form for nearly 40 years, and we are an accounting firm, fundamentally. I have founded some other businesses as well and other enterprises, one of which was the Shareholders Association, which is continuing. It continues post me. It's ongoing. It's pursuing its purpose, and it is successful, and it's got engaged people. I co-founded Argus. I co-founded BoardPro. There's probably a few others that I can think of. Co-founded Kiwi Self Storage. There's numerous things that I've founded. So fundamentally, I don't know what the hell I am. Probably just an habitual creator of businesses.
That's fun.
I was going to say I was Googling businesses in the company's directory for some purpose, and Bruce, your name just kept popping up. I was like, oh my God, he owns this company, or he's got shares in this company. All over the show. So yeah, it's good.
Why do you do what you do?
Well, life's a journey, right? So you start doing what you do when you jump out of uni, and you do it simply because it's something to do, right? So you do stuff. Over time, you discover some things work, some things don't. You find some things were fun, some things weren't. And you tend to find in the joyful things that you do a pattern, right? So I only really discovered what my purpose was when I was about 50. Right?
That's
okay,
late.
so no pressure for me then.
Not really. But when you looked, and how did I discover it? I looked at everything I've done, and I looked at the stuff that was fun and that I enjoyed and that worked, right? And basically the correlation was good people pursuing something that was meaningful, that was generally about creating something that didn't exist before, and creating joyful places to be each day.
I
Cool.
love that.
So I sat back and said, so what's my purpose? My purpose is creation. I enjoy creating stuff that did not exist before, and I get joy out of watching it grow and others grow in those enterprises. So that's my purpose.
Well, it's a great segue. Today's topic is about business vision. And as we were talking before, purpose comes into it a lot as well. But we'd like to hear some stories about businesses that have set visions, good, bad and ugly. What have you got there?
Some don't bother setting them at all, right? They just drift along and do their stuff. But to understand what vision is relative to purpose is fundamentally important, because people tend to confuse the two. Okay? So it's probably wise to actually set down what the difference is. Okay? So a purpose is what gets you up each day, what makes you relevant, what is it that keeps the team and you going day after day after day. Right? What is it what's your why? That's your purpose. Right? For some, the purpose is wealth, whatever that means to them. For others, their purpose is, saving the planet or rescuing dolphins or whatever the hell it may be. And fundamentally, purpose is about inner self, because it's usually individual, and then it becomes collective when you bring people together with enough shared values to actually share a purpose.
Yeah.
So your purpose is what gets you up each day, what makes you feel good and relevant, okay? So take Gilligan Sheppard's purpose, for example, and other purposes. Most purposes usually are marketing or PR fake bullshit, right? Mostly.
You got an example of one?
We exist to save the dolphins, right?
That sounds good. What's wrong with that?
Okay, cool. So then you look at what they actually do, right? So what they actually do to save the dolphins is suck plastic out of the ocean and make plastic bags, or they might solicit donations because people care about dolphins and they run a charity. It's fundamentally about money. Right? So I can normally test people's true nettle around purpose based on their behaviours, right?
The outcomes.
Right. So also the other thing that gets confused is mission, although mission and vision are sort of interchangeable, right?
Okay.
Although mission is more the journey from purpose to vision, right? And vision is the future state that you will achieve at the end of your mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the vision
Yeah.
is the pretty picture, and the mission is what you're going to do to get there in a way.
Yeah.
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 And your purpose is why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Right.
So I tend to
simplifies
use a biblical example when I'm sitting with boards or
Bruce,
businesses.
biblical.
Yes, biblical. You know, when my beard is long, I can be Moses.
What?
Or when I'm wearing sandals, I can be Jesus, which I did have as a nickname for a while.
Okay, do tell.
Do tell the nickname. I recall the CEO of the Financial Markets Authority at the time, as I was walking to get a coffee at morning tea,
In your Roman sandals.
in my Roman sandals with my long beard. He said, "My nickname for you is Jesus." I said, "Oh, why is that, Sean?" And he said, "I said, is it my long beard?" "No." "Is it that I wear sandals?" "No." He said, "It's every time you open your mouth, I say, 'Oh, Jesus.'"
Oh, yeah. And you're, what'd you call me?
Classic.
But going back to the fable, you have Moses and the Jews parting the Dead Sea. So there's a little bit of a miracle at the beginning of this, right? So,
Startup.
right, this is startup.
Yep.
The Red Sea parts and Moses takes his tribe of Jews into the desert. And he says to them, "We're heading into the desert, right? We're going to be in it for 40 years. It's going to be really unpleasant. But our purpose is to be gone from the Egyptians and to be free to pursue our own lives with security and safety." That's our purpose, right?
The promised land.
So the purpose was freedom, okay?
Okay.
And the journey, or the mission, was to survive 40 years of pain and suffering. And when we finish that, we will arrive at the other side of the desert in a promised land, which will have the Jordan River. It will have oranges. It will have honey. The land of milk and honey is before you. And they walked through the desert for 40 years. So that's the biblical fable of purpose,
True. Yeah.
mission,
Yeah.
vision.
Got it.
So when you're talking about vision, you are not talking about why you're going anywhere. You're talking about, in pursuing my why and effectively executing on my mission, when I get there, this is what it will look like.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to paint the picture of what it will look like if you succeed in your mission.
Okay. What was that other vision that you didn't like the sound of?
So some visions that they do, public companies are really good at this, right? Because they just want to make money fundamentally. And they will say, our vision is to save the planet. Our vision is to reduce our carbon footprint, or whatever non-financial shit they come up with. Right? And fundamentally, most visions are about make money, have fun. Right? Most are. Right?
If
Make
they're
mon-
honest.
If they're honest.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm sitting in AGMs, I'll say to them, well, that's really cool. I'm really happy we're going to, reduce our carbon footprint, and I'm really glad that you're moving to paper bags over plastic. Jesus, that's really good, and I'm glad that that's what your vision, that you will be plastic-free in 5 years' time, whatever that means. Tell me, how do you reward your CEO? What's your bonus plan? They normally look into their coffee mugs.
Look away.
Yep. And then eventually I discover that the CEO is rewarded on profit improvement, right? So we know what it's about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Gilligan Sheppard's purpose. We say we enrich our lives, so we freely and honestly and authentically acknowledge that it's all about us.
Yeah.
Okay? Most people don't, because the traditional purpose generally has to be articulated as being about someone else, right? You need to be selfless.
Yeah.
But none of us are purely altruistic, right? No one is. Everyone pursues everything they do to gain personal utility, whatever that is to them. It could be happiness. Remember the game of life, right? As a kid, do you remember the game of life? Got to collect happiness, got to collect money, got to collect fame,
Yep.
right?
Oh.
Utility, you forgot fame, did you, Tori? Okay.
No, she's too young for that game.
It sounds like a great game, though.
It's a good game.
Bring it back.
I think you can still buy it in the warehouse. So everyone pursues everything because they need to feel good about themselves, right? So any purpose that, in my view, doesn't acknowledge at least some element of self-enrichment is fake, right?
See, I'm glad you said that, because the other day I was having the whole purpose conversation with someone, trying to figure out what mine was, and I honestly was like, mine is kind of selfish. Like, it didn't feel like everyone else has been like, oh, my vision, my purpose is just to help people, And I was like, mine is definitely not that. And I was thinking, I didn't even want to say what I thought. I haven't figured it out, but what I thought was my purpose out loud, because I was thinking, that's quite selfish, and thinking that was, the wrong way about it. But for you to acknowledge that,
Yep.
it's honest.
Yep, it is. Well, the core issue is what's the value that underpins how you articulate your purpose.
Yeah.
So if your value is, I'm always going to tell it as I see it, and I'm always going to be authentic, why is it wrong to actually say it's all about me?
But Bruce, your one does have a result for other people.
Yeah.
Well, generally it has to, right? Because we don't live on an island, right? If you choose to simply say, I am myself and no one else matters, you are probably not going to live very long, okay?
Yeah.
Okay? So in order for you to pursue your purpose, which is feeling good about yourself and feeling relevant, you have to find a way to remain connected meaningfully to others, because it's others that will generally pay you money for what you do, give you accolades for helping them, and make you feel good. So generally, under the game of life, all money comes from someone else. All fame comes from other people recognizing you, and all happiness is derived from how you make others feel.
I love that.
Right.
What is the end of your statement?
So the end of our statement is we enrich our lives, so it's about us. So we say that first. We're hoping to impart to our team the message that it's okay to say it's about you, right? It's okay. But understand that even though it's about you, you can't live alone, and we derive our enrichment from enriching your life, right? So we say, we're going to make your life better, we're going to enrich your life, and the only reason we do that is it makes us feel good. Okay? It's honest.
Yeah, so the full statement is, we enrich our lives to enrich others.
We enrich our lives by enriching yours,
By enriching.
right? So we feel good about delivering great outcomes for others because it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
And hey, by the way, you might pay us as well, and that's all good.
Okay, so when it comes to setting a vision statement,
Yep.
you don't have to have one, as you said before. How do you go about it, though?
So you then say, right, we are leaving Egypt to achieve freedom, right? So we are existing every day on a journey to make other people's lives better, okay? Because it'll make us feel good, right? So we're going to travel that journey, and we'll travel it until we're dead, right? Because every day we will enrich someone's life, and we'll get a little buzz out of doing that, and it'll keep us walking to the next stop. And for 40 years we'll do that. Actually, I wonder if that's ironic, a natural working life. So you travel the journey, right? While you're travelling the journey, you'll start to think about the things you need to do to enrich the lives of others, right? So that will give rise to your action plan or mission, right? In order,
So they come first before the vision statement?
No. You'll normally define what the future state looks like.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll then say, well, if we succeeded in that, what does the future state look like, right?
Okay.
So you would say, well, if we did this forever, what would our firm look like? How would success manifest itself? Well, firstly, we'd probably be bigger than we are now, because there would be more people coming in and, being cheerleaders. So the firm would be bigger, okay? Bigger means more people. Oh, great. So that's more people to play with and have fun with. Oh, great. So I could feel good about that. Instead of having 30 people to play with and mess with each day, I might have 60. Oh, great. More toys, more playthings.
Says you. Totally.
Yeah.
So there'd be more people. If there's more people, you'll have more revenue. If you've got more revenue, you're doing more work. If you're doing more work, you're making more people's lives better, right? And you're spreading a mission and vision and purpose to others. In short, you're making an impact on more people, and thus every day there are more people doing good stuff for others, being rewarded, recognized, and feeling happy about doing it, and suddenly it gains momentum, right? Then you sit back and say, well, how will I know when I got there, right? Well, why don't we just accept that it's a journey and that 40 years is a long time, so we'll have a vision for what we look like in, say, 5 years, right? And you'll say, well, what does that turn into? Well, it turns into revenue, which makes you look like your vision's profit, right? But revenue's an outcome. You'll have revenue, you'll have people, you will have a few other things popping out. So our future vision state is A, more revenue, i.e. twice as much as we have now at some future point, twice as many people as we have now at some future point, and based on that critical mass, being recognized as the go-to place to gain experience, learn, grow, the employer of choice and the advisor of choice, right?
Yeah.
So that just means Google ratings or whatever the hell it is. You can measure all of that.
Yeah.
You know? So you can say, oh shit, we're now number one in valuations. That's awesome. Right. How did we do that? Lisa then tells me, well, I paid for a whole bunch of AdWords. Well, that's wrong. But you can measure when you get there, right?
Yeah.
Now, why is that important? So your vision is something that you can achieve, right?
Okay, so it's not an airy-fairy thing that you'll never get to.
No, it's like a long-term plan. So your vision is at the point at which we get to what we envisaged we would be, and we were targeting to do it in 5 years. It might take 7, it might take 10, it doesn't really matter. We'll just keep slugging on until we get there.
You're pointed somewhere, right?
Yep, you're pointed
Yeah.
somewhere. When you get there, you'll say, phew, I got there. We're now in the promised land. There is, in fact, oranges and honey, right?
Yep.
Now what are we going to do? I think we'll build a little town and call it Bethlehem, right? So you've got
So
a
you
different
set
vision.
another vision.
Of course.
So you can have more than one vision for your business.
You can, but it's dangerous to have more than one vision running concurrently.
Yes.
Yeah,
One
so-
at a time.
It's sequential. Right?
Okay.
So one wise old dude he's now old, he wasn't old at the time, said to me, you know why most people fail, Bruce? And I said, why is that, Neil? And he said, because they don't define what success looks like.
So they never arrive.
So they never arrive. So they become rats on a treadmill. And I said, so Neil, what do you do when you've got there? He'll say, I'll worry about that when I've got there.
Yeah.
Right? And what did he do when he got there? He reassessed his life,
Yep.
congratulated himself on being a success, so he felt good about himself.
Yep.
He said, I've achieved one vision, I've still got 30 years, what am I going to do now?
Yep.
And set a new vision.
What a good feeling.
Yeah. Okay. So can a vision go wrong?
You cannot achieve your vision. Okay? So that is an issue of not achieving it absolutely or not achieving it relatively. Right? So if your business fails, right, you're never going to feel good about it, right? Because you've gone broke. Right? So you've run out of money. Whatever's happened, you've pursued your vision and no one else bought it, right?
Yeah.
No one else thought it was a good idea, right? Oh, gee, I've failed, right? I didn't double my team, right? It's because I couldn't find anyone. Gee, why couldn't I find anyone? Was it a talent supply issue or was it me, right? You will always have self-doubt. You will always feel bad about not achieving it, right? The issue is understanding why. Now, it could be that what you were pursuing, no one else bought. Right? No one else bought, and as a result, you failed. Okay? It doesn't mean what you were pursuing was wrong. It was clearly right to you.
The way you went about it? Because
Could
if
be
no
that.
one's buying it, then...
Could be all of that.
You know.
So I've just read a book on the end of the Holocaust. Okay? Again, it's not a business book. It is a book on human memory and human behaviour in response to a cataclysmic event and how humans chose to pivot their thinking around that in order to understand the non-comprehensible. But there were some who lived in that time, who were survivors, who were intent on telling their story because it was really important. And they were telling their story for purposes. These were the Jewish writers from 1945 to 1985. And for 40 years they told their story. And at the end of it, no one was hearing their story in the way they wanted it heard. Can you imagine what that feels like?
Pretty disappointing.
Half of them committed suicide.
Shit.
Right? Because it was so cataclysmic.
Yeah.
And there's a paragraph in the book, sorry, not a paragraph, a chapter in the book which is headed Surviving Survivorship, right?
I have heard of this, yes.
So surviving survivorship is you have a crisis, you failed to meet your vision, but you're still breathing. How do you survive as a survivor and get to the end of it? Because there was another paragraph in the book. The survivors of the concentration camp were not the deserving. Right?
Oh, because of their behaviour in the camp to survive.
Because the only way they could survive was to shovel their comrades into the ovens. Right? How do you feel as a survivor when you've only survived by doing the unthinkable? Right? So they had to get over that, and some of them couldn't. So when you fail to achieve your vision, right? It's not quite like Auschwitz,
No.
but you, in fact, it's not like Auschwitz at
At
all,
all.
right?
Yes.
At all.
Good, glad you said that.
But you have failed, right? You have done something wrong, right? Because it was your vision and you didn't achieve it. And you're going to feel bad. But you've survived it because you're not dead, right? What do you do when you've survived? Do you give in and crawl into a hole and die, or do you keep walking?
Wouldn't it be the same as if you achieved your vision? You get it, you reassess, and you set the next one?
No, but that's much more positive, right? You've achieved your vision. You can give yourself a
I
pat
don't
on
know.
the back.
You're not going to get anywhere by sitting in your sorrow and regret and guilt
Yeah.
and all this shame about not achieving. You can sit in it for a minute and reassess and think, why did that happen?
Well,
But-
it's how you assess failure, right?
Yeah.
Life isn't a journey of 500 steps. Every single one of them was successful.
Yep.
It's a journey of 500
Yep.
steps where at the end of it, you're 50 paces ahead, right? So inevitably, you're going to take a few paces backwards. It's how you understand that failure. You say, well, look, I set a vision. Take Gilligan Sheppard again. We want to double our size in 5 years, right? We're 5 years in and we're only marginally bigger than we were, right? Gee, why is that?
Yeah.
Is it that no one's buying our story? Well, possibly. Fine. I'm not yet 40 and I don't want to get 40 years of bleating, so I'm quite happy to keep bleating for another 40 years if I have to, because I'm pretty confident in our vision. In our purpose. But we haven't doubled. Well, we had COVID in the middle. We had the Great Resignation. We had a whole pile of shit, right?
Yeah.
But that just means the pursuit of the mission, which is the steps we had to do to get there, got pushed out 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, fine, that's life.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Think about what was actually out of your control at the end of the day.
And you just have to accept what is out of your control and say,
100%.
for a period, I have to consolidate. What do you do in a consolidation phase, right? Okay, shit. We had a plan, not this year, the year before, to hit a revenue number, right? We missed it by a country mile for all sorts of reasons. Does that make you feel bad? A little bit. Okay. Do I really care? No, it's just money. Is the core team still here? Yes, it is. Are they still performing? Yes, they are. Right. What do we have to do differently? You look at what went wrong.
Yeah.
You decide what you have to do that's different. You slightly pivot your mission, but your vision remains the same and your purpose remains the same. It's a classic. If what you're doing doesn't make sense, stop. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bill Bain once said to me, Bruce, the team don't understand how you're leading. You start doing something and then you stop and they have no idea what you're doing. I said, I stopped because it made no fucking sense. Yeah, but did you tell them? Oh, no.
Communication.
So communication's an issue. So when you run off task, understand it, no blame, pivot, move on.
Simple.
Yeah, Bruce. I really enjoyed your stories. Thank you for those. But we do want to finish on your absolute gold nugget around business vision.
You can't know that you got somewhere unless you can measure it, right? So even though it feels that you are about the money and the metrics, right? Remember, the money and the metrics are just an outcome of the activity, okay? But fundamentally, you have to say, what does the promised land look like? When I get there, there will be oranges, right? There will be honey, right? So if there's no bloody honey and there's no oranges, you haven't got there, right?
Okay.
Now, in a business sense, that is, what does it look like? Right? We will be recognised for something. We will have a brand presence. What will that brand presence be? Okay? What is it that people will be saying about us when we have travelled this journey? What will our size and scale look like? Right? That's about people and about revenue. And you don't have to have a vision about what the profit will be, because it's the people and the revenue that defines the level of activity that is the output of what you do, and how that output is perceived is a function of your brand presence and what people say about you, all of which is measurable. Okay? But if you can't measure it, it ain't a vision.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if our listeners have any questions for Bruce, they can track him down on LinkedIn under Bruce Sheppard and send him a message that way. And Bruce, just thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Sheppard, the problem solvers in business.